Lowcountry leaders are getting prepared for the impending tropical storm Idalia, including Oliver Palms Mayor Phillip. I talked one-on-one with the mayor about how he's preparing the island for the storm for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Oliver Palms Mayor Phillip, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups for this special edition.
Yeah, hey, Quintin, seems like we have unfortunate reasons we get together periodically, but thank you for reaching out. As always, I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm bringing you back on because obviously Idalia has strengthened into a Category 1 hurricane as early as this morning as it intensified on the path towards Florida Gulf Coast, and this is coming from WCBD. The storm is forecast to eventually move here into South Carolina due out the day on tomorrow. A tropical storm warning and a storm surge watch are in place for portions of South Carolina along this ahead of the storm's arrival, that is, in the state. And I know that when we spoke earlier over the phone, you said that this particular storm is kind of like playing rounds of golf. So tell me, what round of golf are you on right now when it comes to this particular storm?
Yeah, and Quintin, to your point, for our staff, I mean, they have certainly been all over this. Not their first time through this by any stretch. However, we do have some new public safety folks on staff and other employees, just due to growth or natural turnover that, knock on wood, I hope this is a, kind of a good learning exercise for not a major hurricane for our area or major storm for our area. But, our staff has been all over this since first part of yesterday morning, and 2 or 3 press releases at this point and a number of social media posts. So just what you would expect from, folks that have kind of been down this path before.
And how many public safety employees do you have in place now for this?
Yeah, our total staff, public safety, is probably around 55 to 60, I guess, Quintin.
Wow.
And we'll certainly have some extra staff on hand, tomorrow night through the morning on Thursday too. It looks like the storm will be out of here maybe midday on Thursday. So we've got some assessment teams ready to go on Thursday morning. We've got our operations center that'll be partially active starting tomorrow morning, and we'll staff that with extra public safety folks just to be on site, as well as public works folks on call primarily, but public safety folks on site through tomorrow and tomorrow night as the storm moves through our area.
As a matter of fact, Channel 2 says that the Lowcountry residents should prepare for heavy rain, flooding, and gusty winds, power outages, God forbid, and isolated flooding. So where on the island do you anticipate this?
Yeah, and Quintin, I don't know when last time you were out here. It might have been when you and I last spoke, but we've had a little bit of erosion on our beach on the Breach Inlet end closest to Sullivan's Island. So certainly a concern there as the storm moves through, and the way the winds are forecasted to blow, that's going to create some erosion issues without a doubt in that area, possibly some other areas of our island. Our staff again has been in contact with OCRM, just to make sure we could get a permit pushed through very quickly if we needed to do some sand scraping or some additional work on any part of our island. Quintin, I think the good and the bad about living on an island is, in the past, there used to be one way on and one way off of Isle of Palms, as you well know. For electrical service, there's one line onto our island, and it comes across, the intercoastal right alongside the connector. So always a concern for power, without a doubt, when you live on a barrier island. Parts of our island are underground as far as power lines are, but again, the power coming over here is not underground. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for sure, Quintin. But that is probably power outages and erosions probably right now my biggest concerns that we'll have as the storm moves through.
And I'm picturing it mentally in my mind as I walk from Sullivan's Island over Breach Inlet to your island, the Isle of Palms. So how do you all prepare for that particular erosion in that area?
Yeah, and there's really not much you can do, Quintin. We have been working on a permit with the Army Corps and OCRM probably for the last 2 months, I guess, to build a berm down there, if you will. I can't remember how long the berm is, but it probably covers 3 of our city blocks down there, which, not a typical city block, but I think through the 100 through the 300 block, we were going to build a berm down there. Obviously won't be in place for tomorrow, but that's been in the works for a good bit, and we'll hopefully have that done in September to prep for any other storms that may be headed our way. But as far as preparation, Again, not much you can do from an erosion standpoint in the eye of the storm, so to speak. So, but we'll be ready shortly after to build that berm, hopefully for some protection on that end of our island.
And where else do you want to protect the island, in a case for another emergency, God forbid, like this coming up?
Yeah, Quentin, there's really two hot spots on our island right now from an erosion standpoint or an encroachment standpoint. Breach Inlet that we just talked about is one of them. There's a spot in Wild Dunes that there aren't structures in peril like there has been 6, 7, 8 years ago where there was water underneath some of those structures there. It's probably within 30 or 40 feet of structure, so it's just a spot we're keeping our eye on. We have our coastal engineer lined up to come out here on Thursday morning to do an assessment for us, the entire island, so that we can, be ready to do whatever they feel like needs to happen. To your point, Quentin, what can you do to prep for erosion? You can just line yourself up with the right experts to make sure you have the right set of eyes on on what's happening and the solutions to fix that.
And I know that I hope I can talk to you more about that at another time. But I know that you mentioned about the power lines, and obviously that goes over the connector, the Alva Palms connector. Of course, that cannot shut down unless the winds go higher and higher and higher, and that's a state decision. But what local decisions can you make just in case something like, if for instance, the Alva Palms connector has to shut down?
Yeah. Well, if we get an edict of some form, just like we did, during COVID, you'll remember the governor shut down the beaches, if you will, for a short time frame. So we will, we'll abide by anything that comes from Columbia or Washington from a directive standpoint. But to your point, it's typically somebody else's call, Department of Transportation, governor's level, that would make that call to shut down something like the connector or the Ravenel or Don Holt bridges. There's certainly guidance we can put out there for our residents and guests and visitors, which we've done through social media and the city's website today. Just trying to limit any unnecessary travel. Make sure people have their supplies and again, the typical stuff that we would do when a storm like this is approaching.
As a matter of fact, I know starting at 9:30 this morning, the city actually had sandbags available for no charge at the public safety building right there at J.C. Long Boulevard. And I know sand will be also available at the large municipal parking lot on Pavilion Drive. Obviously, it's first come, first serve. So, and the limit is actually 10 per person. So how many people have actually taken you all up on that offer thus far?
Yeah, there's been a fairly steady stream, Quentin. It's one of those things you think, do I really need to be filling sandbags when there's blue sky going on right now? It's hard to kind of get yourself in the mind prep for prepping for a storm. So we've had a decent flow of people coming to get those, but there's still supplies available for those that may need to do it tonight or first thing in the morning before the storm gets here. So we'll continue to monitor that as well. And again, we'll continue to put out messaging on our social media sites as well as the city's website for folks that, just like we have a new staff, we certainly have a number of new residents, that haven't gone through a storm before, and certainly always have a lot of visitors here, as that may or may not have gone through a storm before. So, we'll put messaging out as much as we can through various channels and hope that it'll get to everybody at some point.
And for those people who didn't receive the information on social media, what exactly is open and what exactly is closed in Alva Palms beginning tomorrow?
Yeah, so tomorrow, from a government standpoint, Quentin, we're going to close our offices at 2:00. So that would be City Hall and the Rec Center and Public Works Department. Public safety obviously is always open 24/7, but from a city standpoint, we'll shut everything down at 2:00 tomorrow. And at this point, plan to open back up on Thursday morning at noon. Or Thursday afternoon at noon. So that's today's plan. If something tweaks, we'll continue to message that out. But so that's what it looks like from a city standpoint. I have not heard of restaurants or anything closing at this point on the island, Quentin. From a normal business standpoint, I'm sure they will play it by ear and just be smart about it. But I have not heard of any of those. Our chamber has been putting some messages out to their membership. So, I hope people have been communicated with and will make good decisions once, the storm gets closer.
Alva Palms Mayor Phillip, thank you for your time here again on Quintin's Close-Ups.
Yes, sir, Quentin. Thank you, and stay safe, sir.
Likewise.